Hi, everybody. So, I want to talk about spiritual law. What is spiritual law? This video is primarily for people involved in the occult, but it's also for anyone. I know that this video could even be potentially uncomfortable or scary to watch because there are higher laws that govern our universe and that govern consciousness that are very no nonsense, and I'm here to talk about it. And yeah, I know, I'm just saying, like, this could be scary for some people, but also it might not be. I don't know. So in our world, we have laws. If you're existing in a country, which I think everyone is, our our countries have rules that, you know, leaders have created, people have voted for. These are agreed upon rules about what is legal and illegal, and these laws change according to time and society and what the collective consciousness values and needs. Like, I know that I'm sure in ancient Greece back in the day it was legal to murder people in public as entertainment. Ha ha ha. I don't think that's legal now. As an example, and I'll just leave it there. But yeah, there's stuff like that going on, and obviously these laws, some of them like sucked, and some of them still suck. And there's a lot of laws that exist that are not in alignment with higher law and spiritual law. And I think that people, excuse me, I just spilled tea on my face. I think that people in power today are a little possessed by the power. And I think it's pretty common right now to forget that human law and spiritual law are different. And that humans attempt to kind of, I don't know, it's like we try to emulate spiritual law with the law, but the people in power have their own agendas and their own biases, which kind of keeps us from actually implementing laws that are in alignment with a higher law. I'll get into that more, don't worry. Think about racism, okay? How back in the day when the Constitution existed as a new thing and people were like, oh my God. And also, by the way, just as a by the way, I just learned this in my Native American Studies class. I think it's really wild. There's this tribe in like New York called the Haudenosaunee. I know I butchered it. Sorry. They actually are the original creators of the Constitution. George Washington and all those men, they freaking copied Native Americans to make the Constitution. Isn't that insane and like fucked up? And like, dude, Native people they just know what's up. They've always known what's up. And white people suck. Okay, sorry, that's my rant. You don't have to agree with me. I'm not trying to talk about racial justice today. I don't have the bandwidth to edit this out, but just know that like you don't have to agree with me. I just have my own political views. Okay. But yeah, our Constitution was originally inspired by Native American people. So shout out to Native American people. Shout out. Okay, tangent is over. So basically, human laws are we attempt to create higher laws, but I don't know why we don't really do a very good job. I mean, think about like how the Constitution declares all men are equal, all men are created equal, but like actually that's not really true though, because like slavery existed, and so then of course we change the laws with time, but no matter what, spiritual laws always exist. There are forces, that govern existence and consciousness that exist always, no matter what. Religions have their own interpretation of these laws, as do various occult traditions and belief systems. I'm not going to attempt to tell you all of that. I don't know all of that. I only know my language, and I will use my language, and you can take it or leave it. the way that I can explain this to you today comes through as an image. It is my intention that this image is easy for y'all to understand. It might be surprising to you, the image. In my personal tradition, there are certain animals and certain symbols that represent higher law. In my tradition, the beings that represent higher law are crows and ravens. Crows and ravens are guardians and keepers of the void. I'm very in touch with Norse mythology, and I think that's where I'm going to go right now. So in Norse mythology, Odin, he has two ravens that live on his shoulders, Hunin and Munin, and they travel all around the universe during the day, and at nighttime they land back on Odin's shoulders. And Hunin and Munin, I don't know which is which, but their names in English are memory and time. And these two birds fly across the whole universe and go back to Odin, who's trying to find truth. And that's how I can feel higher law. It's a really difficult, I learn a lot through feeling, and it's a difficult feeling to describe because there's just this deep awareness that there is a pattern to consciousness that dictates life. Okay, so think about that vibe and then think about cops. Think about cops today in society, how policemen, there's good cops, there's bad cops. He's knocking on your window. He's like, give me your license and registration. Maybe he looks a little scary. Maybe today he's not going to give you a ticket because he's a nice cop. You know the vibes. Oh my God, cops with batons, racist cops, murder cops, rapist cops, cops who are or crooked cops, cops who are good cops, cops who know what's going on, friendly cops, happy cops, kind cops, pleasant cops, women cops. You get it? Cops. Think about cops. Okay? Now I want you to put these two images together in your minds. That feeling of something you can't put your finger on, that feeling of nature itself being aware of this pattern of existence. And imagine cops at the same time. Do you see a difference? Because I do. Think about it. People in power, they don't necessarily have spiritual power. They don't necessarily know what true power is. Because true power comes from the soul. And our society is not in touch with the soul. And so true power actually really scares people who are in power. Do you think that Donald Trump is comfortable with death? Do you think that all these people who are in power are actually capable of facing their shadow self and healing their trauma and becoming good inside? These people are not good inside. That's not powerful. It's very, very, very powerful to be in alignment with higher law. Because no matter what happens, higher law always wins. Because higher law is the way that our existence itself is. Life, death, life, that's a pattern. Okay? Winter, summer, spring, fall, that's a pattern. As above, so below, that's a pattern. Everything that you put out into the world comes back to you. That's a pattern. That is a great pattern to know. Okay? Be very aware of people, of energies, of beings that try to resist the natural patterns of life. There's a parasitic nature there. There's a controlling nature there. Things always die and things are always reborn. And that's power. To be aware of that is power. I know that I might not be making complete sense. And I think it's because I'm trying to translate something that's really, really, really secret. It's hard to translate. So like I always say, just give me your questions if you have any, your reflections, and I'll do my best to continue to share this in a way that's easy to understand. And, thanks for being here. If you are here, thanks for sticking around. Yeah, I'm going to keep going for a little bit. So like, there's a true power, and that true power is scary to people who really think they're in power. I see it a lot in police officers. I really, really see how cops are very out of touch with their soul. And I think a friend of mine said this. Shout out to you, Rob. He was like, it's really hard to be a cop and be in touch with your soul. And I know some people might get mad at me about that. But there's a certain kind of shutting off from your own sense of humanity when you are arresting people. I would really, really, really like to think that someone would have empathy for someone they're putting in jail. That people who are in power, the power to determine someone's freedom, I would really like to think that those people see every single prisoner constitutionally as created equal. But I really don't know if that's actually what happens. And I don't know if that is the true perception that the oligarchs in our country have of us. I don't think that billionaires think that people who make less money than them are created equal. I don't think they see us as their equals. Do you know what I'm saying? And do you know that seeing people in that way is a form of psychosis? Do you realize that seeing people as less than you is a form of mental illness? These people in power aren't good inside. Do you understand? And I think that's good to know, because that means that we are more powerful than them, because we have our humanity. We remember what it's like to know that we are equal, and also to know that there's a force out there. There is a force out there and also in there. Statues crumble. Societies destroy themselves. That force still exists. And that force can protect you. I know I sound like Star Wars. Karma. Higher law. You better believe me. Your shadow will always catch up with you. There is absolutely nothing that will change the fact that you will die one day. You will die. Death is inevitable. That's part of higher law. That is part of what our existence is made out of, along with dimensions, along with color and sound and form, is the constant change. There is a knowing. There's a knowing that existence itself is innate, and that it lives here, and that we are of this existence, and that we are connected to all that is. that we are part of nature, and that we live and we die. And this wildness of existence is like a tidal wave that eats things up and that spits things out and that creates things and destroys things. Humans think that they're in control. Humans think that they can choose things like life and death, that they can choose their fate. They can control God. Yeah, have you ever watched someone try to control God? Has it ever gone well? That's higher law. That, my friends, is higher law. So don't worry. Your shadow will always catch up with you. And you will die. And there is no exception. None of us are exempt from the natural order of existence. Especially and including those who practice lower law, law of ego, law of control, power coming from fear. Higher love is unconditional love. Higher power is love. Higher law is love too. It's perfect. It's beautiful. It's ruthless. And it's also all there is. I apologize if this video is difficult to understand. I am happy to make this easier to understand in time. I hope this makes sense. Please, leave me questions or comments or anything. I already said that. Okay. That's all, folks. Have a great night.